And yeah, I think we're recording.
Cool. Well, so coming off of last week in the Ankalev Walker fight, we were pretty successful. Unfortunately, one of our only losses on the entire card was the fighter pick of the week. Ricky Simone, Mario Bautista just looked like an absolute tank in that one. So great performance from him. But we did great. We got Joshua Van right. We got Moto right, Jean Silva, Basharat, McGee, Preston Parsons, Cortez Acosta. We got Jim Miller, and we got Ankalev. So everything looked good last week. It was just the fighter pick of the week. So we're going to come back strong this week with a few more, starting with some prelim fights that have really good value on Prediction Strike. The first of which being Sergey Sade versus Ramon Tavares. This is a rematch between the two of them. And at the time I checked out these prices, and Wells is going to pull them up right now. $3.41 versus Tavares, $2.62. So wait, whoa, that's different than what I thought it was. Hold up. Did Ramon drop or something?
So these are the two prices, just so we have them.
No, you're right. He did. Okay, so this isn't the best value bet, but I think this is a lock for Sergey. And it still provides good value. Like $1 in between on this price stocks is like you're still going to get some good value here. Sergey is 5-0 in his last five, and this is actually his official UFC debut. Whereas Ramon, or actually their last fight was their official UFC debut. And Ramon is 4-1 in his last five, the only one of his losses being to Sergey. Sergey's a really good striker, and he's also an impressive grappler. He gets inside well, moves forward, and applies pressure, and has decent BJJ enough at least to make things happen when he's on his back. Ramon's pretty powerful and keeps his hands pretty low in his stance, kind of a counter striker. He's good at mixing in body shots and combos and those types of things of more of an inside fighter. But Sergey KO'd Ramon on Dana White Contender Series. There was a little bit of controversy surrounding that fight, but he still put him to the floor with a punch. Now we know Ramon's chinny, and I think Sade finds it again. I would go Sade here.
Makes sense. And then the other fight you were really excited to talk about was Charles Jourdain versus Sean Woodson.
Air Jordan.
Yep. Now let's
Uh,
look at these prices. Sean Woodson is $4.07 here, whereas Charles Jourdain is a little bit more pricey at 472. This is a clear value play because I'm on the Jourdain side here. I think this is going to be a really good fight, but I'm still going for Jourdain. He's coming off back-to-back wins. Woodson himself is coming over a pretty impressive win over Bazooka. Um, Jourdain is super exciting, as we know. He flies through the air. He applies a ton of pressure. Super exciting. Not very technical, but has pretty good timing. And he's an absolute dog. He's coming off a B2B beat or back to back, like I said, most recently to Ricardo Ramos. And Woodson, on his end, he uses his reach super well, fights with range. He is a professional boxer, good takedown D, and he's primarily a striker, I would say. He shot a few takedowns, especially in his last fight against Bazooka. But Jourdain here is a huge favorite on sports books, which obviously isn't reflected in prediction strike pricing. And I think he's just an absolute dog. Jourdain is going to be able to win this fight, and the only place I'm pretty much touching this fight, I think, is on prediction strike because of the value on Jourdain. So go ahead and buy him.
I like that call. I like that car. Now, moving on to the actual main card here, you were pretty passionate about Brad Katana to kind of get started, but as the week went on, it sounds like your faith in him was shaken a tiny bit as you've heard a little bit more rumors about Garrett Armfield. What have you learned about this fight throughout this week?
I mean, I like, I'm still on Brad Katana's side. I'm staying faithful with what I picked to preface this, but like, I was just looking through some clips and stuff of Garrett Armfield, and he is an absolute dog as well. It's going to be a really, really good fight. He's probably, from what I've seen, is a little bit more dangerous than Brad Katana is, which I would say is the main factor going into him kind of being favored, along with the line being good for him. Um, on most sites. It's pretty much a pick 'em, I think, at this point in terms of value on sports books. But on PS, Brad Katana is he's a lot more
Katana's
expensive.
a pretty decent favorite on sports. So he's like minus 200 ish.
Oh, he is okay. Okay, I think that line's moved a tiny bit, but yeah, he's a lot more expensive on Prediction Strike, so maybe not the best buy here. But he has some pretty considerable accolades, Brad Katana. He's a two-time Ultimate Fighter winner. Armfield's coming off his first UFC win himself. Katana has some crazy wins under his belt, including a submission win over Bryce Mitchell, and Armfield is not very active on the ground. He's more of a striker, technical striker, pretty good at mixing in kicks and body shots, but still a striker. He doesn't really look for takedowns. And he's going to want to turn this into a striker versus striker matchup here. Both of them are pretty busy. Both of them have relatively good power. I'm going with Brad here just because of his experience, and I think he knows that his path to victory includes mixing in some groundwork, some takedowns. Armfield's going to come in and try to apply the pressure. And I think, if he fades going against Brad Katana, they're in Canada. Canadian judges aren't going to like that. They're going to be on Armfield's ass if it ends up going to decision. So I'm still
Those
running.
Canadians, ruthless.
I know. Unfair judges, those Canadians.
Damn. Canadians.
Yeah, Katana's had a weird career. He won Ultimate Fighter and then had 3 fights in the UFC, lost 2 of them pretty handily. Got cut, went to fight in Brave, won 4 fights, and then got a UFC contract back after that. So, kind of something you don't see too often.
Also,
Definitely a
two
bit of a
separate
journeyman.
Ultimate Fighter wins.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a turbulent kind of up and down career. Armfield, 27 years old, 6 years younger. Only 2 fights in the UFC, which is a little concerning, but in some ways you could spin that to say there's not a lot of tape out and who knows where his career could go. I think I'll lean Armfield here just for some value. I think that with the age difference and kind of the way they've marketed Katana in the past, I feel like he's not going to be a guy you're going to see shoot up too many rankings lists. So I will lean with Armfield in this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I would
I think
agree
it'd
that
go
the
either way.
value here is clearly on Armfield's side when it comes to Prediction Strike.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to our next fight, we got Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. Tell me how you are feeling about this fight. There is some clear value here given this massive price differential. Let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, if I'm buying for value on this fight, I think this is the fight I'm going to do it on. I really like Movsar Evloev, and those price differentials are crazy here. Evloev has 10 decision wins, which would kind of suggest out of his 17 that he's not the most dangerous guy, which I think kind of makes him a little bit underrated. Arnold is a good striker. He comes forward, applies pressure, has heavy hands. He mixes in some takedowns too. He had a sub win in his UFC debut, actually. He has really, really good takedown defense, which is something to consider. Hasn't been taken down since 2018, which I would say works against Evloev. But I just think Evloev is the better fighter here. He's a great wrestler. He is honestly a great striker, good at keeping range. He's pretty smart with it, which is a good way to set up his takedowns. He averages almost 5 takedowns a fight, which is another thing that suggests he might not be the most dangerous fighter. He has some control issues on the ground, obviously, but I think he can probably beat Arnold Allen here. He could win by a finish, could win by decision. I don't think anything suggests that the prices on Prediction Strike should be this far apart, and it's probably the best value on the card.
Yeah, especially considering that Evloev's a favorite anywhere else you would find this fight. I feel like he's a must invest in just straight up based on that. Arnold Allen definitely dangerous though. I mean, had not lost in the UFC until his last fight against Max Holloway, which is just a dog in that division, a guy that you can count on to put together good performances. So without that loss, I think people will be looking at Arnold Allen's potential and career a lot differently. So I mean, I think he could totally get it done, but on PS, I think you have to look at Evloev. Um, Knockout potential is definitely much more there for Arnold Allen. Like you said, Evloev's last 7 fights have all ended by decision. He's won them all, which is a good sign, obviously. But I mean, if things go awry and this turns into a bit of a shootout or something, I think Arnold Allen's gonna be the one that's going to be able to end this by finish of the two. But I think Evloev gets it done by decision, consistent with his other results.
Right on. All right, on to the next fight here. We have a name that I'm not going to try to pronounce, and then Chris Curtis.
It's also weird that fight is the first fight of the main card. It feels like that's the second best fight on the card, but I guess that's just how they wanted to schedule it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird. But yeah, this one, I mean, PS provides some pretty great value here too, I would say. I mean, this is a really hard one for me to pick. Like, I would preface with what I'm about to say, like that this is a low confidence pick if there are any on this card. This is probably one of them. I think Marc Andre can get it done though at this value. I hate to kind of put too much stake, so to speak, in him being Canadian, there being Canadian judges, but I think it kind of plays into Marc Andre's style relative to Chris Curtis's, because Chris Curtis is most definitely a counter striker. So if he's backing down over the fight, and Marc Andre's coming in with his normal high volume striking, I think that's going to appeal to the judges if it comes down to a decision. Marc has really good kickboxing and BJJ as well. I think marching down Curtis the whole fight works in favor of Marc Andre. I mean, Curtis he's great, really good boxer, as we know, with good takedown defense. Works in body shots and kicks well. Is always moving around, but I'm low confidence Marc Andre on this one. But the value is 100% there on Prediction Strike. So
I like your angle, the Canadian judges. I think that's sharp. But
yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to add. Chris Curtis has definitely fought some big names in this division. He's lost his last two. One of them to Calvin Gastelum. I guess one of them was a no contest. Banged his head with the other guy and had that cut over his eye. I mean, who knows how that affects him? That's like 8 months ago now, or 7 months ago now. So I doubt that matters too much. Both older fighters. I mean, the value on PS is there, so I think you might take the investment on Barry Alt, but I mean, I would stay away from this one. If I had to just pick who's going to win the fight, I would lean Curtis and kind of just disregard his last two fights, especially one against Gastelum, who is capable of a result against anyone, especially some of these lower guys in this ranking in the division. So I'll lean Curtis in this one, but yeah, again, low confidence, like you said, Jackson.
Yeah, and would you probably stay away from the Curtis side on Prediction Strike?
Yeah, I don't think I would invest in this fight on PS, but if you had a gun to my head and told me to pick who's going to win, I think I would lean Curtis, but I don't know. Yeah, low confidence, not enough to really stake on either side.
Right on. Next, we have Neil Magny versus Mike Mallet. Seems like everyone is on the Mallet train. Is there any particular reason to not be on the Mallet train? I guess is a better question.
I think the only decent reason is that Magny has historically been kind of the gatekeeper of this division, the welterweight division. But he's getting old. I mean, he beat Robbie Lawler, he beat Jeff Neal, but the last few years he hasn't looked so great. He's done it before, but he's getting older. And Mike Malott is an absolute savage, super attractive UFC prospect, and it kind of seems like the UFC is fitting Neal to him a little bit. Mike's 5-0 in his last 5. All 10 of his career wins are by stoppage, dogs. So I think it's going to be Mike here, and I think this is an obvious play on PS. High confidence buy right here, especially considering the value.
Yeah, Mike's also the best of the Canadians here. So if
Yeah.
if that crowd is going to care about these fights, this is going to be the one I feel like they're going to get most behind. He feels like the guy that's going to be able to contend in the division more so than any of the other guys we've seen on the card. I like him to get the job done here for sure. Only 3 fights in the UFC, I guess, after a Contender Series win. But yeah, it definitely looks like he has some potential here. Neil Magny has been that gatekeeper, like you said. They fed him to Ian Gary. They fed him to Shavkat earlier. Both of those guys, obviously, further up the rankings and bigger names now. So definitely a guy that if you prove you can beat Magny, the company will give you bigger names in the future, and you'll start to make more money as you get up there. But definitely a guy that's necessary. Every division needs a guy like Neil Magny who can stand in there and kind of test what you're made of and see if you're built to survive in this division and keep climbing up. I mean, I think there's a chance that Magny, just wily vet, can get something done, but I would lean with Milot here. I think he's probably the guy I'm most confident with on the whole card to get the job done. So I'll lean him.
Fair enough. All right. Now we have our next fight. Mayra Bueno Silva trying to get back here against Raquel Pennington. Let me know how you guys feel about this fight. You think that it's just going to be Mayra Bueno Silva domination, or is it she's just off her game?
I mean, I don't think I'm touching this one on Prediction Strike because I kind of lean on the Pennington side. I think Mayra can get it done, but I honestly think Raquel probably has it just with her experience. She's 5-0 in her last 5. Mayra's 3-1-1. Coming off a win over Holly Holm that was overturned because Mayra.
Did it start as a no contest, or it's now a no contest?
It's now, it was a win and then it got overturned. Because of the ADHD meds she was taking. But Raquel is a wily vet. She's been at the top of the division for about 10 years. It's her second title shot. She applies a ton of pressure, great in the clinch, great with grappling, has a ton of wins by decisions and loves to ride it out. She's really good at controlling and applying pressure, controlling time, decent cardio. And Mayra's a great striker with heavy hands, decent kicks. She also applies pressure, but doesn't really shoot takedowns at all. And when she does, it doesn't look good. Definitely dangerous with those heavy hands. And Raquel is super tough. She's fought with the best of them, like literally the best of them to ever do it. Yeah. So I think her experience is going to get it for her here. I'm not touching those prices, but I'm going Raquel.
So Bueno Silva won't have Adderall for this fight then?
No.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, give me Pennington then by decision. Let's say Bueno Silva loses a little focus, lets it slip, loses a couple rounds, and I'll take Pennington.
Yeah, I'm putting the house on Pennington if she passes the drug test.
Yeah.
Or if Mayra does.
All right. And on to the main event. We have Sean Strickland versus Dracus du Plessis. What do you guys think? Where are you guys leaning? The prices actually aren't that crazy between these two.
What was the difference?
Actually, they are kind of crazy from a value standpoint. You get crazy value on Dracus.
I mean, I think Dracus is the more skilled fighter. I think he's more technical. He's coming off of like 8 straight wins. Never lost in the UFC. I mean, he's just made a tear in this division. Has flown up the rankings. Fought guys like Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker. Knocked out Robert Whittaker and Derek Brunson. Made it look pretty easy. Both of those guys, kind of upper level gatekeepers in this division, better than a Neil Magny, but still guys that are like, if you can beat these guys, then you really deserve that title chance. That's kind of how these two have served. Neither of them have been able to get it done against the Izzies of the world, but definitely still solid fighters that Dracus has shown and passed with flying colors against. Strickland obviously was able to get past Izzy. That was a weird fight. I don't know how much emphasis to really put on it. It didn't really feel like Izzy cared at all. There was no urgency. There was no stress to take back rounds or really land strikes on Strickland. It was kind of just like he was going through the motions. It was a weird one. I think on a normal day, I mean, you would have to take Izzy against Sean Strickland again if they were to fight. I like Dreykus here. I think he has a better chance as a long-term investment. I think Strickland is a fun champ to have, but I don't think it lasts long. And I think Duplessis has much more of a chance to be kind of a mainstay as the champ of that division. Younger, more skilled, definitely a big personality, a guy who loves to talk. This will be a fight where there's a lot of tension with Strickland bringing up the fact that he might stab Duplessis. So definitely some bad blood here, and all in with Duplessis. I think this is his chance to take that shot and finally get into the mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we all know it looks super weird seeing Deshaun holding that belt. I don't think it's going to last long personally. It was fun while it lasted, but I do think Dreykus is going to get this one here. I can't discredit Sean Strickland too much. He's a good striker, really good tight striking, can also grapple. But Dreykus is a good striker too, and he's also a great grappler and wrestler. His takedown defense isn't great, but that doesn't matter at all against Strickland. And I really like the looks of him and his win over Robert Whitaker. I don't want him to overexpose himself, which is a really easy way to lose against Strickland, especially because Dreykus kind of fights in a weird, like unorthodox way, pretty loose. So that's my only concern. I still think Dreykus has this one. Great value play on Prediction Strike. He has better cardio now because of that surgery, which is going to come in handy in a long fight like this one. So let's go Dreykus for the value.
Right on. All right.
And then Grant, you want to do some a pick each for the week? A lock, so to speak?
Yeah, you want to do a PS pick or just a guy that's not going to lose?
A PS pick.
All right. In that case, I think it has to be Evloev. It's the best investment of the week. I'm not as confident in the fight as it would be in like the Malott fight, but the investment is too hard to pass up on. I think it could be massive gains fighting a guy that's basically double his price. So it's going to be tough to stay away from that one. I'm going to take that.
Like it. I think I'm going to make mine. I'm actually going to make mine Mike Malott this week. I think I'm too confident in this win for Mike for him to be a lower priced by any stretch against Magdy and not take it. I'm going to go for the safe value here this week, considering my Ricky Simone bet last week was a dud, and making Mike Malott my pick this week.
Right on.
Me also got screwed by Kopp not fighting.
I
I'm
know.
still confident in that one if we had gotten to see it, but who knows?
Well, I'm going to go with Garrett Armfield. But with that said, this has been, I guess, UFC 297 preview.
Prediction Strike style.
PS style, yeah. All right, now we're off to NBA.